Welcome, everybody. This is the MasterClass. My name is Patricknazareth. I have around 30 years of experience in teaching, and I would like to help dispel your doubts, should you have any. Today, we look at the chapter, A Letter to God, written by G.L. Fuentes. Gregorio Lopez Fuentes was born on the 17th of November 1897. He died on the 10th of December 1976. He was a teacher at a school in Mexico City. He is known for his writings on the Mexican Revolution. Fuentes was a Latin American author. He writes simply, yet deeply. What does he write on? Themes of faith, human nature, and social conditions. He was awarded the National Prize of Arts and Sciences in 1935. Most of us would claim to have a very deep faith in God. How deep does it actually run? Lencho was a farmer. He had a house on a hill. It overlooked a river. It overlooked the fields where he was growing corn. The corn was ripe. From the flowers, he could see that it was going to be a very good crop this year. One thing was needed, a bit of rain. He was with his wife in the house. His wife was preparing their dinner. His elder children were in the fields working, and the younger children were playing about the house. He told his wife, it's going to rain. And while they were having dinner, when everybody was gathered around the table, it did begin to rain. Lencho was very happy. He compared each drop of rain to coins because he was looking forward to selling his crops at a good profit. He was so happy that he rushed out into the rain and got wet. But the rain turned to hail. The field, the valley, the house, everything was carpeted with white. The hail broke the leaves, broke the plant stalks, broke the flowers. By the time it had ended, the fields were completely destroyed. Lencho knew what it meant. His family knew what it meant. No crop this year. No crop, no food. They might perhaps know hunger. But Lencho was a deep man of faith. He lay awake the whole night, looking at his options, wondering what he should do. He decided to write a letter to God. In his letter, he explained to God how all he needed was 100 pesos. 100 pesos so that he could gather seed to plant his fields again, to last his family through the winter that must come. He posted it. On the envelope was written, to God. When the postman got this letter, he immediately took it to the postmaster, thinking that they could both laugh at the thought of a person writing a letter to God. The postmaster was also a man of faith. He was curious to know what was written, so they opened the letter. And in the letter, Lencho had written, like we have said, telling God about his problems and the fact that he needed 100 pesos. The postmaster was amazed. So much faith that this man, this simple peasant, could write a letter to God, not only in the expectation that God would receive it, but would reply to him favorably. So what did the postmaster do? All the employees of the post office were called together and they asked to contribute some money, which they did. So when the money was collected, 100 pesos was a large sum in those days, and it did not reach the required amount. Whatever amount was collected, they put it into an envelope. Lencho came to the post office asking whether there was a letter for him, and they handed over the letter to him, the letter which was signed God. The postmaster had written God. Lencho received the letter with a great deal of faith. His expectations had been met. God had listened to him. God had answered him. So he took the letter and he took out the money and he counted it very carefully. And immediately he asked for pen and paper and began to write another letter. And he wrote this letter, stamped it with every indication of anger, and left it at the post office. When he went, the postmaster immediately took up that letter. What was written in that letter? It was a letter thanking God for the 70 pesos that he had sent. Lencho was absolutely certain that God would have sent him 100. But since he had received only 70, he immediately jumped to the conclusion that it was the post office workers who were responsible. They had taken 30 pesos out of the 70 that God had sent for him. Who are the characters in the story then? The main protagonist, Lencho. He's a hardworking farmer. He's a simple person from a rural background. He has a very strong faith in God. The postman, a hardworking person who takes the letter to the postmaster. The postmaster, he finds the letter amusing, but he is deeply respectful of the depth of Lencho's faith. The post office employees, we do not meet them, but they must be kind-hearted people since they have taken hard-earned money out of their own pockets to help a poor farmer whom they don't even know. Nature is also a character here. We are exposed to both its sides, the beneficial as well as the destructive. Lencho prays for rain, and though he gets it, it comes with a hailstorm which destroys his crops. There's an intimate relationship that we as human beings have with nature. What are the settings that are shown in this story? First, the house of Lencho. It's on the top of a hill overlooking a valley, rivers and cornfields. The second major setting, the post office, where Lencho goes to receive his letter. The post office, which is staffed by the postman, the postmaster and other employees. What are the literary devices that are used over here? First, the narrative structure that we are exposed to. It is beautifully crafted, a linear structure. Everything builds up one after another. The setup where we learn about Lencho and what he does. The conflict, how his crops are destroyed and how he is frightened for his family and frightened of what he is going to do. And finally, the resolution. What happens? There is dramatic irony here. This dramatic irony is there because we as readers know exactly what has happened in the post office, but Lencho doesn't. He is a man of simple faith. He believes that he asked God for something and God has replied. And if God has sent him less, it is because of something that is done by human beings. Situational irony lies in the fact that Lencho calls the very people who helped him, the people at the post office, thieves. There is metaphor, for example, when Lencho compares raindrops to new coins, when hailstones are called frozen pearls. The description of Lencho himself, an ox of a man, showing us how strong he was and how hardworking. There is symbolism. Take the letter. It represents faith, the deep faith of a person who tries to communicate with the divine. The storm that happens at Lencho's farm shows how unexpected challenges can hit us in our lives. The money that Lencho asks for, it not just expresses hope of getting it, but it also shows us how material things are needed to survive in our day-to-day lives. There is contrast. In the beginning, we have hope, where when the rain falls, Lencho is overjoyed. But then that turns swiftly to despair when the rain becomes hail and destroys his crop. There is faith versus the skepticism, the belief, the strong belief of Lencho and the amazement of the postal workers who read it. There is expectation. The expectation of Lencho, he needs 100 pesos. And the reality, he gets only 70. Then there is personification of the environment. The air is described as being fresh and sweet, thus giving human qualities to it. The way nature is treated as having a hand in the destruction of his farm. What are the themes in this story? Deep faith and belief. How Lencho's faith in God doesn't change no matter what. His faith is so strong that not once does he stop believing in the existence of God or the fact that God is going to help him. Then, innocence versus corruption. See the way Lencho believes in God so deeply that God will help him, and then contrast it with the way he thinks that human beings must necessarily be corrupt. Since God has sent him the money, he must have sent him everything. But the postal workers must have taken 30 pesos. Kindness and compassion, where the postal workers band together to try and collect money to help Lencho out in his moment of need. Economic hardship. How much trouble does a farmer go through? Droughts affect him, rains affect him, floods affect him. How any type of natural disasters can affect farmers and farming communities as a whole. Finally, the communication and misunderstanding. Breakdown in communication actually leads to Lencho not understanding who is responsible for helping him. And he leaves the post office without knowing his true benefactors. That's it then, the end of the lesson. I do hope I have been able to help. If I have, please remember to like, subscribe and share. There might be others who would require our help. Thank you so much for watching.